What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with EnderIO. And today we are going to be discussing the Telepad, which is one of the very few multi-block structures that's actually offered by EnderIO. It's also a very cool multi-block structure, but unfortunately I do not think it is very useful. So just a brief overview, the Telepad is a multi-block structure that allows the player to teleport to a set location that they're going to pick, but unfortunately it requires a lot to construct, and also it requires a lot to allow the player to actually teleport. But we're still going to go through it because it looks really cool, and also if you're forced to pretty much use this to teleport and you have no other options, well then it really isn't that bad. So before we actually jump into the crafting, you guys may have already noticed my voice sounds a little bit different. Unfortunately, I did get sick a couple days ago, right into my first week of my internship, and that was pretty bad because it means that I can't record videos since my voice sounded way worse pretty much over the last week-ish. But finally, I think I sound acceptable to be recorded, so hopefully it doesn't bother you guys too much. But without further ado, we can jump into the actual stuff now. So, I have a lot of things in my inventory, and like I said, this is actually relatively expensive to craft and get up and running. So, the first thing that you need to do is craft the actual Telepad blocks themselves, because those are going to be used for the multi-block. Now the nice thing is that you are only going to need Telepad blocks, you're going to need 9 of them, and that is going to make up the entire multi-block structure. So if we look at the recipe for these, it's 2 fused quartz, 1 ender crystal, 4 dark steel, an octadic capacitor, and a travel anchor, which is actually relatively cheap, just 4 iron, 4 conduit binders, and 1 pulsating crystal. So as you can see, it gets a little bit expensive to make these, but overall it really isn't too bad. So we can put all of the dark steel in there. I believe we put the fused quartz up top. We can put, where did the crystal go? You know what, I could just shift click this in there, I think. You know what, oh no, those are gonna get sucked into the system. Okay, let's pull all of these out and let's just shift click that in there. I forgot we could just do that. We gotta get the travel anchor, there we go. Get all 9 of those, and there we go. So we've got all 9 Telepad blocks right now. So we are good to go and make the multi-block structure. Unfortunately, that is not enough to actually get this system up and running. And that's because we're going to need not only power for this, but we need an EnderIO fluid, which is Dew of the Void. And on top of that, we need to go and actually select our coordinates. So if you are playing on a server, chances are this config file has not and will not be changed, as it is automatically off. If you're playing alone, you can probably change it yourself if you'd like to, but the config file is going to determine whether or not you can manually set the coordinates that the Telepad is going to take you to. Now it's automatically off, and it's going to force you to use the coordinate selector. Now this really isn't that expensive, so you don't need to go bugging anyone to, change server config files to allow for this, but to make it, all it is a compass, an ender pearl, and 4 electrical steel. It should be that recipe right there. That makes the coordinate selector very cheap. So we're going to grab this out. If we hold shift for it, it says print coordinates of a block. Right click at block to select the block adjacent on that side. Shift right click at a block to select that specific block, and it can select from a distance. So chances are you're probably going to be running around, finding the block, shift right clicking the exact block you want to go to, and that's pretty much it. But before you leave your base, before you run thousands of blocks, before you teleport into a new dimension and go wherever you need to go, make sure you have a piece of paper on you. I cannot stress this enough. You need it to have paper. It needs to, as it says, print coordinates. It needs paper to print. So you need at least one piece. You can have multiple of these and switch them out, but make sure you have at least one. Okay, so now we're pretty much set to go in terms of crafting, so we can go start setting this up somewhere. Now, we might as well just set it up in here, right in the center of the base, right in the floor, just because I think it looks pretty cool, and that is not what I wanted to do. I think it looks pretty cool, and I want to look at it. So we'll put it right over here, and it's going to be a 3x3x1 multi-block structure, and we just throw these down. They look pretty ugly on their own, but the minute you put all of them down, the 3x3, it is going to form the multi-block structure, no clicking needed. And it's got an awesome texture to it. This, honestly, I would put this in a base and just not use it because of how cool it looks. So it's pretty much got like 3 turbines sitting in the bottom here that are going to spin up when you use it. And that's pretty much it. You're going to teleport from this central block. And if we click on this right now, we can get into all of the good stuff. So the first page is going to have the coordinates on it. Now these are locked right now and you can't manually edit them. But if you thought by chance that your server might allow for the manual editing of them, feel free to check it out before you run around trying to get the actual printed coordinates. But yeah, you can change the dimension and the X, Y, and Z coordinates. On the left here, we've got the internal buffer for RF. We've got the dew of the void tank, which is very small. We've got down here the percentage. The whole thing is going to be charging up as you actually start using it. Further you have to go, the more power it's going to use, and the longer it will take to charge up. And then over here, you're going to put in your printed coordinates, and it'll register them and then drop them back out to you so that you can save them for future use or give them to someone else, I guess. There is a second page. Click over to the travel settings. Here it's really only important for a server. It's actually, it is only important for a server because it's going to tell the server who can actually access this. So public, you're just going to put in a name or something. You just put in Rage. You can put in like an icon for it. So you could just be like, hey, Rage, that's mine now. So it is a public teleport, and that is that. There is a protected one, which is going to require that you can put items in here, and whoever's going to use it is going to need to know these specific items. It essentially is going to act as a lock of sorts, and it's going to allow only certain people to access it, so you can pretty much determine who will be able to use it and who won't, in case you're worried that people might come over and waste all your power or dew of the void, just kind of spam teleporting around with this. And the last one, also relatively self-explanatory, is private, and that's just going to make it so only you can use it. Now, we're just going to leave it on public, obviously, because it's irrelevant. I'm the only one on here. It's not a server, so it doesn't matter at all. Now, before we can start using this, we have to go get some coordinates. So let's say we want to go right here to this very special grass block. Well, we're going to do shift right click, and let's just say, no, we got to make sure it's perfect. I can't type today. Special grass block. There we go. So it's got the coordinates, the dimension, and the name special grass block. So we print that. This is now the name of those printed coordinates. We can come over here. Wait, what? Does it duplicate paper? It didn't use that up, and it just gave me that. Obviously, it's not duplicating it because you can't. Can you turn this back into paper? Huh. Okay, that's odd that it just gave me a second piece of paper. It should have consumed that. But okay. Well, we now have the special grass block coordinates. We shift click them in here. It drops it back out to us, and now it's registered them. So they are in there, and we could click teleport. Oh, but wait. We have no power in there. There's nothing in there, so we can't teleport. So it's now making a humming noise, but it can't try and teleport us because it doesn't have anything. So what we need to do, come down, let's just do it over here. Put down the dimensional transceiver and go to the power, and it is going to receive power, and it should, I guess it'll have to fill up this internal buffer first, but it's going to do that. It's becoming nighttime, so I'm gonna have to sleep too, just because a lot of the power I get is solar, but it's gonna fill it up, and then it will start filling up the actual machine. So there we go. It's now filling up its internal buffer. Something to keep in mind, you can pretty much put power in wherever on this if you want to hide it. It does not need to go in any certain block. I'm just going to put it on the side so I can actually access this. But now let's look. If we were to hit teleport, you can see not enough dew of the void for teleportation, but it did use some power when it tried, at least the first time it did, to register that error. So we want to make sure that everything's in here before we actually try and use it. And lastly, dew of the void. Now, dew of the void we haven't actually made before, but we've gotten pretty darn close. So we're going to come over and we're going to put our vat down right next to the dimensional transceiver just because we need power in this. So it's going to get some power relatively slowly, but it's going to get this. And to make dew of the void, if we look it up, it is going to be nutrient distillation, which we already have being produced, grain of piezoality, definitely not pronouncing that right, but it needs that, and grains of the end. Now to make these, you're going to crush the pulsating crystal, and you are going to crush the ender crystal. So not cheap to make, just something to note. It is not cheap to make in any way, shape, or form, which is why I don't think that this is going to be a very commonly used block for teleportation. But I do have the nutrient distillation here, so we can click that in, click in the second bucket, and then put in grains at the end and that, and we can let it start going. Now, it should start functioning because it should only need 2 of these. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I did have to cough. My throat was getting relatively dry. It was probably not sounding too great there. But I did need to add some more nutrient distillation here. It does process a significant chunk of it at a time. So I believe it's 4 buckets of it at a time. We're going to see next process, but it sucked a lot of them up, and it will then put them out hopefully in a second or two. It should almost be done. There we go. So it is going to output 1 bucket of Dew of the Void. It consumed 1 of each of these, and it is going to require, it should require 1 more bucket to start another process. Yep, so it requires 4,000 millibuckets of nutrient distillation, 1 of each of these, and then it's going to give out 1 bucket of Dew of the Void. Now what we can do is take a look at this. We're going to have to push it out that side, and now it's going to fill this up. So now we should have everything we need to teleport, which is great. So what we're going to do is click on this, walk onto it, or we can walk onto it first and click on it because it's only going to work if there's an entity on it. And of course, we're the only entity we can have right now. But we're going to do that, and we're going to stand there. Now, the reason I'm going to cover this before we actually do it is because it's going to happen in the blink of an eye for me, but it probably won't for you. It depends all on how far you are trying to teleport. If you're going really far, thousands of blocks, it's going to use a lot of power, and it's going to have a long charge up time. The further you go, the longer the charge up time is. If it's a couple blocks like me right now just to test it out, it's going to take pretty much no time at all. You might see this percent bar move a little bit, but it'll be almost instantaneous. Now, if you step off the telepad while it's charging, you will lose everything it has consumed thus far. It does not refund it. It does not consume it all at the end. You're going to lose power, and that's that. You can't do anything about it. So if you're going to teleport 3,000 blocks and you think, you know, I'm going to be fine, you click teleport, it charges for, 10, 15 seconds, and then you step off, you're going to lose all that. A ton of power. So we're going to go on here, click teleport. You can see the charge bar at the bottom went up very, very fast, and here we are. You can hear the humming end, and it's done. But it's pretty awesome. You should be able to see that stuff rotating. I tried to stop it so we could see it, but it's too fast. But I think it looks really, really cool. The main reason that I would use this is because of how it looks, but I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Also, I think this is going to be the last episode in the Surviving with EnderIO series. There's really not that much more to cover, unfortunately. The mod EnderIO doesn't have a ton of stuff that needs to be covered. Like if we go all the way over in the pages, you can see it starts at the very bottom of page 9, and then the last page is just junk. It's not really anything like block related, so it doesn't have a ton of blocks, but I think we've covered most of it. So I don't even think we'll do a world tour for this. I think the next Surviving With episode is going to be a new series. And I already know what mod that we're going to be doing. A lot of you have asked for it already. So there's no need to do the recommendations this time. It's been recommended to me hundreds of times before. I'm sure you guys will love it. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed the series as a whole and this episode. If you did, please feel free to give it a like, as it does help me out a lot. Again, I apologize for my awful voice. I will do my best to edit it and make it not sound horrible. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later.